I'm quite well known for waving the finger at you a little bit and saying, we still have to do more. We're not there yet. There's a long way to really become a kitchen industry that is respected in the world globally. So I won't talk about that at all. In fact, I won't talk about you at all today. You do whatever you want, and I'm very happy also to, in the back of my mind, remember that there are certain things sprucing through the soil that give us hope that the industry is on its right way. So what do I want to talk about today? I would say there are essentially 5 things that are important if you want to become a successful kitchen manufacturer. First of all, you need money. Very important, because you need to invest in manufacturing facilities. You need to possibly build a brand. The second thing is you have to have a good production facility, because you want to make a good kitchen. You want to sell a good product that is of a very high quality standard. The third thing is you need to be able to install that kitchen well as well. This is very important, always forgotten, and create customer satisfaction through a good installation and through a speedy installation. The fourth thing, debatable, depending on the level you're at, is building a brand. If you want to be known, whether it's in your neighborhood, in your region, or even on a national level, you need to have a brand to be recognized as a professional kitchen manufacturer. And the fifth thing is actually what I'm going to talk about today. You need ultimately outlets, because you can make the best kitchen in the world. If you don't have any shops to sell them through, you're not going to grow. So I'm going to talk today about, I hope this is happening. No? Oh, help. Here we go. So I'm going to talk about retail outlets. As you might know, Hafele has a little bit of experience with that. We've been rolling out a franchise concept over the last few years, for the last 5 years in fact, and we now have, as you will see later as well again, 56 outlets all over India, which of course is a drop in the ocean. If you really want to make an impact, if you really want to have penetration in the market, 56 outlets alone are not terribly much. It's a beginning though, and it's a step in the right direction. So, introduction. What are the prevailing retail strategies? I'm going to talk a little bit not about the kitchen industry per se, but about the retail industry in India generally. You have several successful businesses that have gone into expanding into retail shops, particularly through the franchise model over the last few years. Here's one, Seerams, hopes to be a 2,000 crore brand, so that's a very significant number. And in the next 5 years, want to have a tally of 400 shops across markets. In shoes, there's Liberty. I'm sure you've all heard about that brand. And they are now with 325 franchise units in A, B, and C towns. And this is emerging as a successful model. Lakme in the beauty area has grown from strength to strength, from 81 salons to 181 in 7 years. Automotive, Mahindra first, has also expanded over the last few years, and in the next 5 years want to reach a level of 1,000 physical outlets. Now that's a number that makes a bit more sense in the geographic context of India. Here's a company that I hadn't heard of, a company called IKC, that plans to take its existing number of already 12,000 training centers to a whopping 20,000 over the next 5 years, with a special focus on tier 2, 3, and 4 cities. Then there's Tanishq, and I'm going to go a little quicker here. Ferns and Petals, which have 150 floral boutiques in India. There's hospitality with restaurants, Moti Mahal. Kangaroo Kids Education, that's a big booming sector as well with franchising, with the franchising model. And fitness, of course, always important. Tower cars that are also expanding along with other groups in that field. So companies are truly realizing the potential of retailing in the Indian market. And if you look at the market today, you have the following picture. Retailing is India's is one of the pillars of India's economy with a contribution of 14 to 15% to the GDP. It's estimated that, and I have to read that the comma's always in the wrong place for me, 3 million crores are registering an annual growth rate of 7%. And as we all know, like many other businesses, this is all happening, or this is largely happening in the unorganized sector, with only 6 to 8% belonging to the organized single or multi-brand players. We have 1.4 crore outlets in India. This is a bit of a record. I believe somebody said there's no other country in the world that has more outlets, retail outlets, than India. Of course, 1.44 crores means also the guys, who are pushing along the vegetable trolleys along your street. They're a retail outlet, effectively, in the unorganized sector. And most of them, even when they have a shop, are relatively small, around 500 square feet in size. FDI inflows, if you look at the size of the market, have been relatively small over the last few years. From 2000 to 2014 was only 600 crores. In 2011, there was a change. Indian central government initially denied, but then in 2012 approved increased competition in single and multi-brand retail. And of course, we don't know what Mr. Modi is going to do about that now. He may well wind that back, but he may also take his time, because that would set a very bad signal for investors. So the jury's out on that one, what is going to happen, but ultimately there's also extremely much activity in the retail segment from local players, of course. So that was the situation. With more international players entering the market, the organized sector is expected to grow at 20% annually, and is expected to account for 20% of the total market by 2020. International companies and investment will provide more benefits, and the market is expected to touch 4.7 million crores by 2017. That's a huge, huge number. So the structure, that's what it looks like at the moment, and this includes organized and unorganized market. And you can see Indians love their food. 60% of the outlets are food and grocery. The apparels, mobile, telecom, and so on. And if you translate that if you look at the organized retail space, you can see, again, food takes up a big part. That's hypermarkets, supermarkets, if you want, then apparel stores, mobile phones, food service outlets again, and so on. The hypermarkets are the largest retail segment, accounting for 22% of the space. So modern organized retail is expected to grow by 50-60% annually in particularly tier 2 and 3 cities, and this is an interesting observation because there's a lot of studies that say the money is actually not in the metros. The money sits in the B and C towns, and why is that? Bangalore, good example. Take a software engineer who works for one of the big software companies here. He makes good money. Of course, he also spends good money, because Bangalore is not a cheap city. It's one of the cheaper ones compared to Mumbai, where I come from, but still it's not a cheap city. So he spends on rental, he spends on food, he spends on transportation, and so on. So the money doesn't really last that much, and his actual disposable income that he can spend on consumer items is relatively limited. In the countries, what's happening? Like, he had the money, but he did. So this is also something to bear in mind for other aspects of the market. So when you come to the furniture market, and we're talking here, and I have to be careful because the figures can be a little confusing, about the home and furnishing market, so that includes soft furnishing and so on, is 120,000 crores. But it's very fragmented and unorganized, and with very few national brands. By 2017, that market is expected to grow to 180,000 crores. So it's a very fast and strong growth. The Indian furniture market, if you now take furniture out of this and leave the furnishings aside, is said to be 48,000 crores. Now, we tried and researched this as far as we could, because this figure hasn't changed in the last 5 years. every presentation, anybody steps up, this is the figure of the size of the Indian furniture industry. Of course, it has moved on, so I suspect the number is even higher. Yeah, the organized business is growing at 20% annually, I can believe that, and the unorganized is not growing as fast. It's about 10%. So you can see there is a shift from unorganized to organized segments in the market when it comes to the furniture market. The key market players that are driving volumes and who we call modern trade are companies like Home Center, Evoke, Hometown, Godrej Interior, of course, very well known, Style Spa, been around a long time, At Home, and so on. These are the new formats of large stores where you can go and buy basically all your furniture requirements and partially components. So, outlets, successful business tool for you. Accelerate your business. Why do you need an outlet? What does it do for you? Basically, it brings you closer to your customer. Basically, the customer comes to you, he has an opportunity to look at your products, to feel and touch them, and get educated about what he's buying. And you will also understand the needs of your customer, because the customer communicates with you and says, no, I don't like this, or I like this very much, and it gives you a better idea maybe to develop your products more towards the customer in the future. Your options are, like many in the room, you can be an OEM supplier. So you supply one of these big chains with a no-name kitchen, and they pop their name on it and sell it under their own brand. Not a bad option, really, because there's no investment really in retail space. You have your factory, you sell your kitchens, off you go. Of course, there's cons as well, because you don't build a brand. Nobody knows your kitchens, nobody knows where that kitchen, that Home Pro or wherever, Hometown or wherever it is selling is from. It's not attributed to you. And you don't have any contact with your customer, so you don't get that feedback about what the customer actually wants. You have to rely on what your customer, the Hometown, tells you that they want. Second option, also a lot of people in the room, you own a shop. Very traditional thing. India likes to own shops. As I said, we have 1.4 crore of them in the country, and it's a very established concept. Typically a family business, or maybe even an entrepreneur who opens a shop. Also not a bad thing, you can do this in your neighborhood. The pros are, it's simple to manage. You can keep the shop up to date very easily, there's no big investments that need to happen. You can focus your marketing on your neighborhood or your local area. But the cons are, you have to pay for it all. Nobody's going to help you with that. And if you don't have the money from the family, you have to go to the bank and ask them to give you a loan. Then, of course, we don't penetrate very far. One shop, one neighborhood, that's as far as it gets. That's as many people as you can reach. So, with limited growth opportunities, of course. You will be content or have to be content with being what you are, and you're not really going to move on. So obviously, that is not the future if you want to become a large player or a larger player. And that's where the franchise model comes into it. That's also the model that Hafele has chosen, because we can't afford to open all the shops ourselves. So you have basically a local partner, and you build a network of shops, regionally or nationally, and the pros are very obvious. You have a shared capital investment. You put in some, the franchisee puts some in, and off you go. You can open a lot more in a relatively short time, so you have faster penetration of the market. And you can leverage, and this is not to be underestimated, the partner's local market knowledge. If you want to grow in a region that you're not familiar with, then you better do it with somebody who knows that market very well and can give you that intelligence. Yeah, so big advantages. The cons, I can write a whole book about the cons because I've been doing it for 5 years. Not so easy, and I'll come to that in a second. There are challenges in keeping the shops up to date, and there is less operational control over the day-to-day running of them. So retail is detail, very true. What is it actually that it takes to establish and maintain a franchise shop? Sounds, as I said, easier than it is, but it involves a lot of planning and maintenance. So this is basically, you know, the curve, if you want. The initial planning process, I can't spell that out enough. It's so important. And it's important because we also didn't do it properly. We had the great idea, let's open exclusive Hafele outlets everywhere and come closer to our customers. But we really didn't go into the detailed planning of it initially. You know, we sat there and there were a lot of enthusiastic people coming to us, you know, pick me, I want to open a shop, and we gave it to them. We didn't really check who these people were properly. We didn't check their locations properly. We didn't really check whether they fit into our company culture as well. This was also very important. So, then there's the shop rollout, once you decided where you want to be, with whom you want to be. And then you have the tough part. Opening up a shop is easy, relatively easy. To run one is the hard bit. You know, from the day the shop is opened, the work starts. A lot of people think it stops there, but that's where it starts. Yeah, and then of course, if this is successful, you want to expand. So, initial planning, identify the cities where you want to be. This is very important. Don't do what we did and let people come to us from all over the place and say, I want to open a shop, and let them do it. You decide strategically what are the areas that you need to be in and where you want to open a shop. That's very, very important. You are in the driving seat for that decision. Very important. Decide how many shops you want. You know, that is really depending on your individual situation. It could be just a couple of shops in a neighborhood, or it could be a regional rollout of shops, as is happening with some of the players now. Then decide on the shop design. And again, this is probably one of the key points. When you design a retail outlet, particularly in the kitchen sphere, you are selling lifestyle. You have to create an ambiente. When the customer walks into your shop, he has to feel captured. He has to feel, wow, this is beautiful, this is sexy, you know, this is something I want to have a closer look at. Don't have white walls, you know, like I saw an outlet yesterday. No decorations at all, nothing, lighting terrible. It has to be created with a lot of care. So if you don't know how to do it yourself, get a good designer to do that for you and create that ambiente. Then you have to work on the backbones, the processes, the manuals, because whatever happens between you and the franchisee has to be well thought out. The rules have to be clear from the beginning. You can't, again, we did that, we made the rules as we went along. As we went into the learning curve, we said, oh, let's do that, no, let's change that. And in the end, we took ourselves a franchisee consultant to tell us how to do it properly. So we have now proper manuals. It starts how the shop should look, and then how the shop should be run. It clearly defines my responsibilities and their responsibilities word by word. This is very important to avoid disputes later on. Of course, secure adequate financing. Also, franchising is not for free. You know, you have to invest into every shop. Typically 50%, that's how it is with us. It's a 50-50 partnership essentially, and you need to have the money for that. And then, as I said earlier, identify suitable franchisees in the different locations that you've decided you want to be in. And take your time. Don't rush this one, because you want to be with the right partners. If you're with the wrong partner, you know, you're potentially wasting a lot of money, time, and energy. So don't rush into getting the right partner. So then the shop rollout, as I said earlier, create the shop interiors, displays, and in red you see there the store manager and staff. Why is that in red? Why is that extra big? Because we've also learned the hard way. You can spend a lot of money in making a beautiful shop with a great ambiente, and then you put a complete no-brain in there because you don't want to spend the money without a personality, without any competence. He's going to destroy, or she's going to destroy your shop. As simple as that. They will effectively destroy your investment in a very short period of time, and you should not bother. So do me a favor, if you invest in a good shop, invest in a good shop manager and good shop staff. This is very, very essential. People who can connect with your customers on eye level, who are competent, who understand how to sell, and who are passionate about what they do. And this is very important. There should be enthusiasm, there should be passion that comes across to the customer if you want to sell over the next guy who didn't spend the money. So operations, this is the hardest bit. You know, we have to train. You know, as a franchisor, you have to train your franchisees. You have to define marketing activities. You have to launch the shop. You have, you know, to make sure that there's regular site visits, shop housekeeping, product upgradation, shop-wise analysis, what is actually being sold through the shop in terms of your product mix. Can you improve on that? Can you fine-tune that? And so on and so on. So again, there's books that can be read on this that define all the different steps. And then, if you said, oh no, this is all running really well, we're set up now, we are organized, let's expand into other cities, you have to plan that expansion just as much as you planned your initial rollout. Yeah, the number of shops, suitable partners, etc., etc. So, falling in love and having a relationship are two different things. Who agrees with that view? Pretty much everybody in the room, even the ones who are not lifting their hands. So what is going on here? Franchisor and franchisee relationships mirror, in many ways, personal life. You know, these are the stages that are happening. So if I now sort of go back to the Western model of courting, for instance, it's a little different from India. Basically, you know, boy meets girl, and you know, they go out on a date, and he pays a lot of money for meals and drinks and tickets and small presents, and then maybe fall in love. And in the West, they might even live together for a little while, and before they get married, and so on. All takes an awful long time, and is very capital intense. This is where India is so much more practical. You know, the parents say, "Darling, we found you a nice boy. He's from the right community. His horoscope matches very well with yours, and he's got a nice job. Marry him." And that was that. 2 weeks later is the engagement. 3 months later is the wedding. Over. Very efficient. That's the way it should be. Yeah? Which brings us to commitment. Of course, the same thing. You get married, you commit to each other, you start a family possibly, and carry on. Here onwards, everything is the same. Doesn't matter whether that's happening in India or it happens in the West, it's the same thing. There's communication and motivation. You know, you have to build on your relationship. And you have to make sure that, you know, the day-to-day niggles that are coming your way are being managed properly without you falling out with each other. We're trying to do that. You audit. After a while, you say, okay, let me think. Is this all happening in the right way as it should be happening? Or is there something not quite right? And that's when cracks may appear in the relationship. And that happens with the franchisee just in a marriage. And then you have to decide, can I mend those cracks? Or will I have to manage change? Manage change could be the divorce. It's a difficult change to manage. Hopefully not. Hopefully you've been able to mend the cracks and change your ways, or change the ways of both partners, so that in future these cracks don't appear anymore. Yeah? So that's how that works. So now, here we go. If you look at the franchisee, courting is basically identification approach of the right franchisee or the right franchisee opportunity. Commitment is the company brand, system of working, marketing support, continuous training, MIS support, upgradation, blah, blah, blah. Communication, motivation is technical support and client servicing. That is an ongoing thing. Regular meetings and shop visits. So you need to continue talking to each other, assisting in dealing with markets, operational challenges. The day-to-day niggles that happen need to be resolved. Sharing successes and celebrating, also very important, because part of the relationship that is healthy. Then, of course, new product information, loyalty programs, and so on. You might need to audit from time to time in this environment as well. We do what we call mystery shopping. Mystery shopping is basically sending somebody into one of our franchisee shops whom he doesn't know, and to check whether they actually doing the things they say they should be doing. And it's important to keep them honest and clean, because ultimately, individual operators have an individual way of operating, and that may not always be according to the process that you had originally set out for them. Then, when that happens, you have to mend the cracks. There's always resistance from the franchisee to spend more money when you come after 2 years and say, but now we need to update the displays, and you'll have to participate in that investment. You say, no, they're fine. I can do another year with them. But the thing is, if you have a franchisee concept, the displays now need to be changed, because that's what you have set out to do. So there's that conflict that needs to be managed. Often they think, oh, we know everything, we don't need any more trainings. It's just kitchens, hey, easy. Of course, that's nonsense. Training is an ongoing thing, and we have in Hafele a perpetual learning culture where our employees, and as well as our customers and franchisees, are learning all the time new things. It never stops, and we also review things that we've already taught just to make sure that everybody is on top of it. So training is very, very important. And then combating competition strategies. Competition is out there, Typical thing is, you're too expensive. Give me a price break. Is that the way forward? I don't necessarily think so. We've heard earlier from one of the speakers that this is really not about price anymore. It's about differentiation of your proposal that you have for the customer in terms of the product and the services that you're offering. So you need to get out of that price box a little bit and think of other strategies that will make you stand out from the market. So, the retail experience. Creating the retail experience is backed by some essential. I said it earlier, shop interiors environment, extremely important. And the one thing that most people get wrong, which I find quite remarkable because there has been a lot of talk about this, is the lighting. Invariably, a lot of things are done right, but then the lighting is wrong. They use CFL lighting, which is flat lighting, and everything looks like a pancake. This is not how you attract customers. This is not how you highlight products and make them look attractive. So we, in Hafele, have actually shifted our entire focus in lighting to LED. Last year, we are now doing all our design centers and franchise shops with LED lights, and I mean the ceiling lights. And we're highlighting with LED. There is not a single CFL or incandescent light anywhere to be seen. And we have broken through that initial resistance from our customers because they said it's too expensive by really working out a return on investment model for them that shows them that within 18 months, not only do they get that investment paid back, but they start saving money from that day onwards. We all know, without having to go through the whole thing again, that LED uses roughly 10% of an incandescent light and about 40% of CFL. So the savings are substantial.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah? And it's not just in electricity, but the savings are in your air conditioning because they don't get hot. So they don't create heat, so you have to push up the AC again. And they don't break down. So you don't have maintenance where you have to go up and down and constantly exchange light bulbs. So it's a sensible thing to do. And it's catching on, which is nice to see. And then I said, shop personnel. It has to be, friendly, smart, competent, confident, to be on eye level with the customer who comes in and give them really good advice. This is very important. And then after sales service, of course. This is also something we're investing in very heavily because it doesn't stop when the sale is done. Again, things can go wrong. Particularly with kitchen studios, there is installation to be done, and this is a very critical point because you've done the whole wonderful sales spiel and you sold a lovely kitchen, but now you have to install it in such a way that it actually works for the customer. So that's part of the after-sales service. If there's a problem afterwards, you need to attend. You have given a warranty. In our case, we give a lifetime warranty even. We have to send people around and make sure that they actually fix your problem. Don't take that easily because that's how you build trust. This is how you build a brand. that people want to come back to. So service is becoming one of the more important things than price. This is another thing that you can add value, where you can add value to your product. Very, very important. So, retail ambiences. Here's a couple of pictures from our design centers. This is the one in Mumbai. So, this is all planned through from the flooring to the lighting, to the air conditioning, to the flow that people take going through the showroom, and of course the colors and surfaces that we're using. This is the bathroom area. This is the wardrobe area, and you can see lots and lots of lights. So we didn't skimp on that, but they are giving that right ambience. Some examples of other businesses that are successfully retailing: Nature Basket, also a high-end supermarket chain from Godrej, been rolling out very successfully. Premium gourmet stores started in 2005 with fresh food stores. They're strategically located in high streets. Location, again, that's important for every retail business. Location, location, location. You need to be in the right area. What they offer is all kinds of delicatessen and fresh foods. Have a network of 32 stores at the moment, with which they generate 136 crores. Small business today, but this business has enormous potential. You know, as I said, Indians like their food, and they're now starting to experiment also with foreign foods that gives them a bit of an edge. So they've grown 55% since 2012, and with the addition of 2,500 new products, contributing 9% of the total turnover in 6 new stores. So then Kaya, I'm not going to go into every detail now. You all heard of Kaya, skin and beauty clinics, started in 2002, strategically located again, location, skin treatments, have a network of 88 clinics across India, turnover 280 crores, and plan to launch 150 to 200 smaller outlets. This is actually an interesting development, and a development that we also have understood, and that is that the big shop format doesn't always work. Yeah? This is India, and real estate is very expensive. So to find people who are open for you 2,000, 3,000 square feet is not easy. 1,000 square feet is a challenge at times. If you remember, I said the majority of those 1.4 crore retail outlets in India are smaller than 500 square feet. And that is the reality. Yeah? Now, if you want to roll out fast, if you want to have market penetration, you might want to think about a smaller format. 500 square feet allow you to put 2 or 3 kitchens in. 3 might be a bit of a squeeze, but it can be done. We see that happening all the time. Does it have to be the big shop? Maybe in the metros where you want to have a flagship store. That's what we're doing as well with our design centers. But then as you go out into the country, you might want to think about allowing smaller formats as well and provide designs for that. Yeah, so that's just the thought. This is clearly what happened with Kaya, because their overheads became very high. They were renting, and they have now started Kaya Skin Bars, where they're going to sell predominantly products and not services through smaller outlets. Godrej Interior, you're all familiar with this particular brand. Very respected in India, trusted brand. Home and office furniture stores. In 2006, Godrej brought its entire range under the brand Godrej Interior. So it's not too long ago, 8 years ago. They're strategically based in high streets, in major cities and metros, so they know how to do the location thing. What they offer is clear: office furniture, turnkey solutions, right down to private interiors. 55 exclusive stores in 18 cities at the moment, 300 dealer outlets, and they're generating a turnover with that of 1,700 crores, which is quite substantial. 50% of that, I have to say, though, is Storeware, where they're selling their metal cabinets that they started out with. So they're planning now to invest another 25 crores, and they want to bring their retail contribution of the business to 40% over the next 5 years. So here you have some players in the Indian kitchen market. These are the ones that I said earlier are starting to give me hope because it starts to happen. You know, the concept of franchising is kicking in. There's players who are getting not just one or two or three, but all 4 or 5 components of what makes a successful kitchen manufacturer right. And these have the opportunity at the moment to become not just regional, but maybe even national players. Now, I put these into alphabetical order. That's very important, so I'm not, you know, lifting one out from the others. So you have Aida. Dorinda, are you in the room? I don't know. No, he's not in the room. Dorinda started with A&A, started with Aura, high-end kitchens, and then created a more accessible format called Aida, with which they have now gone into 48 retail stores, 45 franchise stores over the last 2 years. So a very fast rollout, very good penetration, and they want to go to 60 and then eventually to 100 stores. So a very ambitious concept. You know, then there's others, of course. There's Arancia, there's Godrej, who I talked about earlier, who you would think would have the best opportunity of all the players because they have a trusted brand, they know how to make stuff, they have loads of money, they have the outlets. But where are they? There's an opportunity that has not been realized. 55 exclusive stores, but if you look at their actual kitchen business, it is tiny in the total context. And then, of course, Rajesh, Sleek. I hope I got the outlets right. Where are you? There you are. Is it right or not? Okay. Because we had a considerable confusion about that. So 31 owned outlets, 18 exclusive, 460 dealers, but that also includes the component business. More opportunities here clearly for Sleek in the north and in the east. Of course, as you all know, Sleek is now associated with Asian Paints. And again, here's a tremendous opportunity to become one of the big players because there is money. The brand has been built very cleverly. Production ability is there. So here's another player who I see move very fast. And then Spacewood with now 13 outlets. And here are your imported kitchen manufacturers. And they're not playing dead. Don't forget that. You know, there's quite aggressive rollout plans of franchise shops with them as well. They have been fine-tuning their offering to the Indian market. Some of those brands have introduced sub-brands, which are more accessible, starting in fact at sort of 1.5 lakhs. And they're very aggressive in the project business because they know this very well. Still, at the moment, if you look at the outlets, it's still relatively small. So there's 8, 9, 7, 9, and only Veneta Cucina has a double digit with 16. But there's movement here. These are the names of the people who are strategically committed to the Indian market, who are not just opening an opportunistic shop in every metro and see what happens. They have a plan. They're investing money in building the brand and in their strategic development. Modern trade, I showed it earlier. Interesting, if you look at the numbers here. Modern trade already has 19 stores, and these are big stores. You know, that's at home. There's Evoque with 19 stores. There's Hometown with 34 stores, and Lifestyle Home Centers with 29 stores, of which 12 are exclusive kitchen stores. So there's also a lot of movement here. Now this is good for the Indian kitchen industry because these guys are supplied from Indian kitchen manufacturers. There's the OEM opportunity that I talked about earlier. So, Pioneer Retail in interior fittings. This is something, as I said, we started in 2009 because we felt we were not getting the quality of outlets from our trade partners at that point in time. It's changing, but at that time it was very difficult to find a display that was really doing justice to our brand and where we position our product. So we started Hafele exclusive outlets. This is actually our design studio in Mumbai. And we wanted to create a world-class environment that could be anywhere in London, Paris, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, with cutting-edge designs. And I'm very proud to say that we achieved that entirely with Indian designers and manufacturers. In terms of the furniture, in terms of the design that we are creating here, there's not a foreign hand involved except me, of course, and I'm half Indian, so I don't count. So this is what we did. This is, again, the bathroom area. This is how we're showing our handles, furniture handles. This is our lighting area. This is our live kitchen setup. We have now in our design centers everywhere live kitchens so that we can actually do events as well. Here are some of those events that are happening. And we're bringing through there all kinds of people, architects, interior designers, high-net individuals, and let them experience the environment and the products. And we do this on an ongoing thing. That's what I said, running the shops is much, much harder than opening them. It's an ongoing effort. There's ongoing investment that needs to take place. But ultimately, you reach your customer through these activities. So these are the 5 flagship centers that we have now in Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, and Colombo. Here in Bangalore, we're just doubling the size. We have the 56 franchise-owned design studios across India. And this is what they look like. So this is now not our flagship interior. These are the kitchen franchisees in different areas. This is Aurangabad Classy Furnishers, Euro here in Bangalore. Before it had been accessorized, still looks very clinical. This is in Shillong, right up there in the northeast of India. Of course, my wife comes from Shillong, so there was a clear affinity to that particular place. Satinwood in Chennai, who did a very nice showroom there. Prudential in Colombo. We're also very active in Sri Lanka since a few years. And then here, Perun's Innovation in Bangalore. A lot of you might know them. Ashvara, also here in Bangalore. And that's basically it. So I'd like to throw it open. Anybody has any questions for me? You can clap. Go on. Any questions, anyone? How am I doing for time? Absolutely. Spot on, right? Yeah, I'm learning. I'm being trained. Any questions from anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Juergen. This is Virat Singhal from Northstar. You mentioned about the importance of retail presence, physical retail presence.
So I didn't understand.
You emphasized on the importance of brick and mortar stores, the physical retail space. With the advent of e-commerce, how do you see the space changing in the modular kitchen industry? Now that most of the sectors are facing the heat from e-commerce players, and it is forecasted to evolve in a big way in coming years. So do you see its impact in modular kitchen industry?
Yeah, actually, I mean, Shweta, the lady who helped me with the presentation, will now be jumping up and down and said, I told you so. Because I had a whole section of e-commerce in that presentation, which I said, take it out. Because I don't personally think that it's relevant quite yet. You're absolutely right. E-commerce is developing very fast now. And there's some very, very strong local players as well that have been moving into that space. But quite frankly, if I look at the developments in Europe at the moment, you won't find many people selling kitchens over the internet. What you can certainly do, you use the web as a tool to attract customers, to make yourself known, to disseminate your brand. Very, very important. So use all kinds of social media, create a good website and so on that will help you sell. But ultimately right now still, when it comes to a big investment of several lakhs, possibly customers want to come and see and feel. Yeah, and this is why, particularly in the kitchen space, outlets are very important. Anybody? Yeah, please.
Thank you. We have been associated with this industry.
Not working. Just speak loud.
Yeah, no problem. The thing is, we are associated with this industry from last 20 years, and we see lot of people, all big and small, talking about the problems. But somehow along the way, when it comes to the core segment, revenue generation, or how to hold the business, it starts from me, not us. The basic problem, like in India, the Indian scenario, we see like it is a developing country and developing stage we are in the industry. So what happens? A person comes to a company or a showroom, we hire them, we train them, and after 3 months or 6 months,
They leave.
They leave. Either they are for their own business or to another company. And what we, in this process, what is being done is the potential they have, they only get half paid. They are not properly trained. Their potential is not properly harnessed. But the market scenario is like that. If a person is working, for example, under sleep, maybe he is not worth more than 10,000 rupees a month. But if he say, I am working in a sleep, there is no thermometer kind of thing. Like a person may say, okay,
Their market value increases, yes.
His only credential is he is working in a reputed brand.
Sure.
So other person will say, okay, I will give you 50,000.
Sure.
Okay, I will give you 20,000. When we take interview for our companies also, a person comes for a senior designer course, and when we see their credential, their total experience is 2 to 3 years.
I know. Yeah.
How come
Sure.
a 2 to 3 years person experience become a senior designer? But our industry is accepting them. That is the main problem.
Yeah, this is what Vasani ji said earlier. There is not enough people in this industry.
Yeah, and
You know?
I just took this opportunity to stand up here, and I would like to request all the people of our fraternity, please think over this thing, how to train the personnel.
Yeah.
A carpenter comes to us, we give him 14,000, 15,000, 12,000 rupees a month, and he move over after 6 months, and they have got so many, you can say, finicky mind. Like we want this, we want this, we want this. So,
Sure.
the person is not, why not train them?
That is, goes without question. Training is the key. We don't have enough professionals in the industry. There's several companies that are taking training very seriously, and we obviously one of them. Sleek started last year an initiative to train designers, because ultimately we can make good kitchens, but they don't look maybe as attractive as some of the European counterparts, and we need to do more dedicated design for India as well, but
The main thing which came in our mind, why not make an institution kind of thing in each metro? And if we say, okay, you are a plain carpenter, you can make a modular kitchen installer. Just pay 25,000 rupees.
yeah, but this is something, can I interrupt you there? Because this is an important point that you're making there. You have just seen that we're all in the process of, or have created the Association of Indian Kitchen Manufacturers in India, right? So this is the organization that has to play a pivotal role in my mind in terms of training, and that's also clearly been specified in the objectives. And there need to be regional chapters that take over those training responsibilities and create better knowledge bases. And that will take some time.
But we have to work on that thing. Nobody's
And that's what I said, we need to start.
Because the problem which we see, the problem is not that Indian people
No, no.
money finding.
No, no, no.
The problem is there is the difference between demand and supply.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mr. Vasani also told, there are not good people around, no
Sure.
professionals around. Why not create the professionals?
Yeah, but as I said, I mean, it's ongoing. It's a slow process. We are running the same risk. We are a reputed brand. We train like hell, and people know when people come from Hafele, they are well trained. So they're obviously worth some more money, and they can, cash that in. But I have to tell you, we don't have much in that area of the business. We don't have much turnover. People like to be with us because they know they're continuously learning. We're obviously also creating an environment for our employees where they earn enough money so that whatever they can earn outside is not that attractive anymore, and where they like to work for us. I mean, we have to all work on the environmental factors as well, not just on the training thing, but you also have to create an environment for your employees to want to be with you. So that is also part of the story. It's a complex story, and I think it's understood by a lot of players, and we're now starting in the right direction with a lot of initiatives. But I can tell you that it's going to take some time. You're not going to create an army of kitchen professionals in the next 3 or 4 years. That's going to take 5 to 10 years.
If you move in the right direction, maybe the next generation of ours will be having a more comfortable environment
Yes,
to work upon.
absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other question?
Sir, we are running a little behind schedule.
Okay,
so
well,
there's
that's it now.
this entire session on Quiz the Masters where they can...
You promised me you would start playing music to get me off stage.
I'll do that. I'll perhaps go and sing there.
All right, then. So then, thank you very much indeed for your attention. Thanks a lot.